every week. Okay, let me tell you that countdown music does it for me. I hope that you all are having a great day. I hope you are just living your life to the fullest. I am Dr. Renita, and I am an educational leadership strategist, author, speaker, coach, trainer, mom, wife, mom of four whole kids. And I am a queen. Hello, got on my crown today in a different form. Yes, I do. And I am so excited to be back with you for Leadership Live Week 7. Leadership Live 2021 Week 7. Can you believe that we are already 7 weeks into 2021? Time is surely flying. But I am not here by myself because Leadership Live is all about sharing journeys, all about sharing stories, and all about changing your life, your leadership life, whatever area of leadership you lead in, whether it be personal or professional, whether it be traditional or non-traditional, whatever that is, that's what we want to help you get together. And I am here with one of my favorite friends tonight. So let me bring her on in the room.
Come
Yes,
on,
she is. There she
come
is,
on in the
Melissa
room.
Jordan. Hey,
We
it's
in the room,
Melissa.
honey.
Hey, it's
Come on, we up in here
Melissa.
tonight. We up in the room, darling. I'm ready. I'm here for it. Oh, we up in the room.
So, in case you all have never met Melissa, this is Melissa Jordan. Bink, bink, bink. There she is. Doesn't she look lovely? So, Melissa, please tell the people about you because I could go on and on, but there's a side of you that you want to share with them, and so I'm gonna let you pick which one that is. Go ahead, girl.
I'm gonna give the people the real deal, Holyfield. Okay. Anyway, my name is Melissa Jordan. I work in higher education. I work with college students all day, every day. I was telling someone the other day, I started working with college students the first day that I graduated from college myself. I got a job working at my alma mater, and I've been working with college students ever since. And so my joy and my passion is around helping college students identify their authentic selves and how to create pathways so that they can live authentically and really kind of go after their dreams and their passions. And so I am blessed to be able to have done that in many different facets on many different platforms. I've done it on the East Coast. I've done it on the West Coast. I've done it down South. And so, just excited to kind of talk about leadership and what that means. And, sometimes it can be this like lofty kind of idea. But we're going to get into it tonight. But sometimes you be leading and you don't really know what you're doing. And that's okay. That's all right.
Right.
That's all right. That's all right.
Hello, somebody. So Melissa chose her topic as every single leader who's been on thus far has, and her topic was leading when you have no clue what you're doing. And I was like, oh, how apropos, because that's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people. That is definitely a lot of people, for sure. That's a lot
Yes.
of people.
But I want to touch back to some things that you brought up during your intro. And
Mm-hmm.
one of those things was authenticity. So,
Mm-hmm.
authenticity
Mm-hmm.
is something that I teach, preach in my nonprofit, The Refining Life, in my for profit, with my coaching clients. It's all about authenticity. For me, that is the root of good leadership. Like, if you're
Mm-hmm.
going to lead well, you have to learn to be authentic. But part of that is just self discovery. A lot of people, no matter what their age is, have no clue who they are, who they
Right.
really are, who they want to be, who
Right.
they used to be, and how that affects who they are now and who they want to be.
Right. Right.
So when you are working with students or whoever you may be speaking with, because I
Mm-hmm.
know your reach goes well beyond just the students, at least
For sure.
maybe even just beyond when they are students. I know your reach continues even after they graduate.
Absolutely.
So when you're teaching authenticity, working with them on authenticity, how do you do that?
So the first thing is like getting over yourself. Like, let's just keep it all the way 100. Like, we think that we have to show up a certain way. We especially don't even get into like identity stuff, right? Like some of the identities that I hold, African American, female. And so sometimes the first thing you got to do is kind of get over yourself and get over the narrative in your head of saying, I have to be this way or I have to show up that way. Because that's where we get tripped up. That's where we get tripped up and thinking that you got to be a certain way, you got to look a certain way, you got to keep up with the Joneses. And the first step of being authentic is to just kind of release this idea that you have to show up a certain way. You have to sound a certain way. You have to look a certain way. That's the first step, is in order to be authentic, you have to dismantle and kind of reteach yourself who you are based on who you choose to be, and not based on the way that maybe other people told you that you were. So that's the very first thing, because you can't give off authenticity if you've not done some self-work to really identify who you want to be and who you are. And so that's the first thing. I think in addition to that, the second thing would be really doing some of the self-work by getting feedback from people that you love. So like one of the things, people that have worked with me in a career setting, like in my jobs, they know that I'm always looking for feedback, because in addition to authenticity, the only way that you can truly be authentic is if you are self-aware. And Renita, let me tell you, it's a lot of people out here walking around and they are not self-aware, and you cannot be a good leader, nor can you be authentic if you're not self-aware. And people might think, well, okay, we say self-aware, but what does that really mean? Self-aware means I know the areas that I'm strong in. You can't tell me I can't do that. I know the areas that I'm weak in, and I know how to get help in those areas as well. And so, we've got to work on, it's a constant process of being self-aware and really doing that soul searching around different things that might come up, or triggers that you might have, or when you have and engage with different people, that engagement or that relationship will tell you a lot about yourself, right? And are you willing to accept what you're learning or seeing in that moment, or do you just want to kind of brush it off? No, that's not, that ain't me, that's their issue. Well, the reality is it might be your issue. It very well might be your issue, right? And so we got to be honest with ourselves. So in order to get the authenticity, you first have to be real with who you want to be, who you feel called to be, not who the world expects you to be. And then you got to get real self-aware. And self-awareness is a lifelong journey. So I didn't, all of that.
Honey. Okay. So I love the feature that I can go off screen for a second, because I can, be over here acting a whole fool, and I can take some good notes. So in case you are out there and you have not gotten a notebook or a piece of paper or an old envelope and something to write with, go get that. And we already got a comment here, and it's just, yeah. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
So there are about 800 things that you talked about. We only have about an hour, so we're going to see what we get to in addition to all the other stuff that's going to come up. But we're going to start with this list. You used a fabulous word, and absolutely fabulous word. You said dismantle. Dismantle. Because to me, when I think of dismantle, it is literally breaking apart something that was built up by someone or something. Even if it was yourself, you may have built it. But so something had to be mantled in the first place, or built in the first place, and then you have to just demolish that thing. So how have you personally gone about the process, which you also use? I love the word process. Process is a yummy word to me. But the process of dismantling, how do you dismantle?
So I think a lot of it, so some practical things that I do to dismantle, and these are real practical, because I like to give practical tips. I feel like, sometimes I can be real in the clouds, and that's cute and everything, but people are like, but how do I actually do that? Right. And so one of the practical things that I do as far as dismantling is I do a lot of reflection, and I do reflection through journaling. And so to dismantle kind of your understanding. So I'm gonna take one step back. When we are dismantling, right, and we're taking apart, it doesn't mean that we're just clearing the table and throwing everything away. We are actually dismantling, taking apart, picking and choosing what we want to keep, pulling from other resources, and then building back up. But it doesn't mean that you just clear the slate and you got to start all over. It's just really that process of dismantling is really thinking about, I had an interaction with someone, whether it's someone that reports to me, someone on my team, someone that I'm in a group project with, a supervisor or whatever, and there was a trigger there. Something happened. And I have to be self-aware enough to just take some time. Maybe it's at the end of the day. That's what I do. And just kind of journaling, like, okay, I had an interaction with Susie today. And Susie got on my DAMN nerves. And I'm trying to figure out why she got on my nerves, right? And so really doing kind of that self-reflection when these moments or triggers come up where you feel offended or you're upset or because when we feel triggered and offended, it's because something that someone is doing is questioning the being of who we are, or is questioning some type of characteristic that we hold. And so we've got to really sit with and figure out, okay, well, why was that getting on my nerves? Like, what kind of meaning was I attaching to that interaction? And then once I've identified what meaning I was attaching to that interaction, then deciding, okay, well, is this truth for me, or is this not truth? Was that the emotion that I had? Was it a reaction? Was Susie getting on my nerves because I really was doing something that was incorrect, and maybe I'm really harsh on myself and I don't want to make any mistakes? Was Susie getting on my nerves because maybe she was trying to give me feedback that I didn't really want to hear, right? Like, there are a lot of reasons why these kind of sparked experiences come up, and they teach us a lot. The average person isn't willing to really sit with and understand or try to figure out what's happening when there's a little bit of friction. And so the practical things that I would do in dismantling is, I journal every night and kind of think about, what happened the day before, or that day that I've just finished. I read a lot. I say all the time to my students, to my peers, my girlfriend circle, like, leaders are readers. And in order to understand, in order to really understand yourself, you have to read. Like, the most successful people are reading books a day, or they're reading 2 or 3 books at one time. And so the reading helps to expand your mind and give you a different level of environmental awareness, so that you can pick up on cues, right? And then those cues can speak to your personal awareness. So reading, journaling, reflecting, having entrusted people in your life. Like, Renita, I've come to you several times and be like, sis, was I bugging? You know what I'm saying? Like, did I miss the mark? Was I not being true to myself? And there have been moments when you've had to lovingly say, in a sister way, like, well, I get why you're saying that, but this part was a little petty. And I'm like, okay, thank you. Right. And so you need
and that is reciprocal.
Right. And so you need people in your life that can, be real sounding boards, not just yes men and yes women. That is also how you dismantle, right? Because you've got to get to the core of how you think you're showing up and how you're actually showing up. And then those two things need to be like congruent.
Mama. Okay. So back to so many things. So many things. So one, the idea of reflection, but the idea of dismantling by breaking all these things down, but you still have the puzzle pieces. Like, the pieces are still there. Like, when you demolish a building, like, you don't demolish it and all the stuff just disappears. No, it's rubble. So you have to choose in your reflection time, because once it's dismantled, then you have time to reflect. Okay, exactly. So now what are you going to do with the rubble? What are you going to pull out of there? And so that is so powerful to understand that when you dismantle or you demolish something, it doesn't mean you get rid of all of it. But the reality is, if you had to demolish it, you probably need to get rid of a lot of it.
Pretty much.
Some of us dismantle only to mantle back the same things.
Come on. And then it becomes a cycle where you're just cycling around and you don't understand why relationships are still in turmoil, why your environment is still the way it is, why you're not happy within yourself, because you may be doing all the right things, but you're not releasing or letting go of the things that don't do you any good. So it doesn't do me any good to walk around with anger in my heart. It doesn't do me any good to walk around with unforgiveness. It doesn't do me any good, to have had an interaction with someone and get stuck in that moment of, you're getting on my nerves, or I don't like you, or whatever, right? Like, it doesn't do me any good. So we dismantle, if we don't clear the rubble or pick and choose the foundational pieces that we need to build up, then you're just going to take the same stuff and build it back up, and then take it down and build it back up. And that's a waste of your time and everyone else's around.
Right. And that's what we were talking, Kennedy and I talked about last week, was breaking cycles. It is so necessary. You have got to do new things. You've got to try new things. You've got to do it scared. You've got to leave your comfort zone. You've got to dismantle. But you use the strong word again, foundation. The issue is that some people build up things with no sure foundation.
Come on.
And so there is absolutely no way they can build up something that's going to stand strong again if they don't at that point create a new foundation. You have to have
Mm-hmm.
a sure and solid foundation in order for anything to stand firm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's true.
Anything.
That's
And
true.
some people just pick sucky parts of the rubble to build back up. They
And
do.
then they don't understand why it's not working. And it's like, but you got to be honest with yourself, right? Like that gets back to that self-awareness. If you're not honest with yourself, then I guarantee you're not being honest with anyone else in your life.
Right.
If you're not being honest with yourself about what you're fearful of, you know, whatever obstacles are in your way, if you're not being honest with yourself, then there's no way to grow. There's no way to manage a situation. There's no way to move forward. You're going to be stuck and you're going to be cycling and cycling and cycling and wondering why your life doesn't look the way that it should. I think about a lot of times, especially women in relationships, when you find yourself in the same type of relationship over and over and over again, right? Or you just can't seem to make a relationship work. And it's like, at what point do you check yourself and say,
Mm,
am I picking incorrectly? Am I just not, do I not love myself? And so I end up in these relationships that aren't working. Do I have a bunch of unhealed wounds that I haven't done the self work to really take care of? There comes a point when you can keep pointing at everyone else, you can keep pointing at but there comes a point when it's like, nah, sis, nah, bro, it's you. Like, you
right.
got to do your own self work. And I know a lot of times we use that language in popular culture, like, you know, you got to do the work. What does that mean? And that just really means like really doing some soul searching. What do I love? What do I not like? What am I good at? What hurts or wounds are still with me from my past? Like, that's that
Mm,
dismantling. In order to dismantle, I got to go all the way back deep. And a lot of people don't want to do that because it's
right.
scary, or, you know, what for? Why dredge up all of that? But you can't get healed and whole until you get to the root and dig it out at the root. Because if you don't dig it out
Hmm.
at the root, it's going to keep bearing fruit. And that's the fruit that you don't want. So you got to
Right.
get down to the root and get it out.
Yeah. So it's just like when you have a cavity and the dentist has to go in and dig all that stuff out, and you might have something so nasty you got to get a whole complete root canal,
Come
but they
on,
got
they
to
had
go
to
in there and
dig
get it
all the
out.
way in the gum and just
You better
like
let
get
them
it
in
like
there and
this.
let them get that out, or else they're gonna feel it and it's gonna still hurt because it's gonna be a mess. But
Exactly.
right, which is my illustration for that.
I
But then
loved it.
I also, when I work with my coaching clients, the first thing we do, and whether this is a coaching client, and I do this at a lot of workshops, I've done this with fifth graders
Mm-hmm.
and third graders at a school, and it's called that, dealing with that. You're
Mm-hmm.
all that. So it's your total, honest, awesome truth.
Yep. Oh, that's
And when
awesome.
you deal with that, you have to deal with who you were, who you are now, who other people think you are, because that's a thing,
Mm-hmm.
and who you want to be. And when you're dismantling,
Yes.
it is really digging into all of that, because some of us think that because we dealt with that before, that it's the same that now, and it's not, because we
Yeah.
lived another day.
Yes.
And
Yes.
as leaders, when you're having other people follow you, because, and I'm going to ask you this question before I keep going, what's your definition of a leader?
Wow. So that's loaded. My definition of a leader, the person that's willing, or a person that's willing to sacrifice something, whether that be time, energy, they're willing to sacrifice something of themselves for the greater good of others. That's a leader for
Mm,
me. Because to be a leader, you're going to have to sacrifice. So, for example, even in my own job, like, you know, my supervisor, she says often, you know, Melissa, you're a leader. Like, I appreciate you on the team because you're a leader. But I have to sacrifice sometimes my team members not really liking what I got to say. I got to sacrifice time because I might have to put in some extra time on a project, something like that. I got to sacrifice, you know, having difficult conversations with people, having difficult conversations with my supervisor, having difficult conversations with other, you know, other partners. I gotta sacrifice my feelings. Sometimes you just gotta eat it, right? Like somebody's
right,
really digging into you and you just like, this not my fault, but I'm okay. You know what I'm saying? Like
right.
that, someone who's willing to sacrifice themselves, something that is dear to them for the greater good of others. That's what I would say a leader is. So you don't, and for me, leader, the people, it's not about titles. You know what I'm saying? We be so pressed about these titles. Y'all gonna hear Maryland, Prince George's County accent is trying to sneak out, and I'm trying to push it back in there because
Let it out,
I
girl.
really
Set
am
it
about to go
free.
in.
Be authentic.
We are just we get hung up on these titles, and we place so much value on these titles. And you can be a vice president of whatever. You can be a whatever, general counsel of whatever. You can be whatever and still not be a good leader. Like, you can have all of the accolades that this world says is exactly what you're supposed to do, and you're supposed to be at this point of your life doing this thing, having this title, and still not be a leader. If you can't build rapport with people, and the best way to build rapport is through sacrifice of some sort, then you'll never be an effective leader, because leaders must sacrifice something, period. Think about some of our, it's Black History Month, and so think about some of the people that we are even celebrating, this month and all year long. And I'm gonna just go with some easy, like MLK's, Rosa Parks, the people we talk. They sacrificed. That's why they had an impact, because they sacrificed something of themselves, whether it was their family, whether it was their reputation. They sacrificed it for the greater good of the community. So that is what a leader is to me.
I love it. Oh, I love it. Okay, so sacrifice is huge, but I'm going to say what you described was a good leader. That's a good leader. So in my definition, a leader is a person who has followers. It's just that simple to me.
Well, you're right. You absolutely correct.
Because some leaders stink. They just are sucky, stinky leaders, and they lead people to sucky, stinky things.
Yes.
But a good leader, that is one of the most beautiful and most eloquent ways to describe a great leader to me. I agree. But I would say that in our dismantling, in our rebuilding, it's that constant reminder that someone is following your rebuild. Someone is following your total, honest, awesome truth, and they need to know all of it. They need to see you build it. They need to see you dismantle it, and you be honest about it. Just like you said, honesty. To see you be honest about it, because what that will do, and it goes right into your definition, will show your sacrifice to be a great leader for them. I will, in order for me to be a great leader for you, I'm going to dismantle all this crap that I built up. I know it looked pretty. I know it smelled good. I put Febreze and some extra spray on it.
Did you Febreze
I did. I Febrezed it down.
So baking soda, get that little funk
little baking soda, maybe even a little baby powder. Who knows? It was a little bit of everything and some essential oils. All of it was there. And I'm about to break this thing down. Hello, burnt it. I may have played a little Erykah Badu while it was happening. It was good time. All of that happened, and I'm about to break all of this down.
Yes.
And rebuild it, and we can build it together. That's what the good leaders do. You are absolutely right. But we have to be honest. We have to be transparent and authentic in all of that. And I think that goes to the topic that you chose tonight, is leading when you have not a clue what you are doing.
Not a clue,
lot of that comes in that when you have to lead in the dismantle.
Come on. Now see what some of y'all may or may not know is you got two ministers these are two ministers together. Renita's a minister, and so am I. And I'm like, girl, that's a preach, lead through the dismantle. I'm about to preach, because that's a whole word, leading through the dismantle. Honey, that's and to be honest, Renita, the good leaders, the impactful leaders have figured out how to lead through the dismantling process, right? They figure it out, because when you got followers, you got followers. And if you come to know, if you come to realize that there's some dismantling that needs to happen, you don't just throw your followers to the wayside. You got to figure out how to still meet their needs in the midst of whatever process you're going through. And something else that came up when you were talking before, like, a leader is someone who has followers. You're absolutely correct. And whether you're a good leader or a bad leader, you are making followers. So if you're a horrible leader, you're making horrible emerging leaders, right? If you're a really awesome leader, you're making really awesome emerging leaders. And I think we have to remember that when you have followers, you ultimately, they begin to mimic you, whether they're conscious of it or not. So if
Right.
you're a horrible leader, think about a time when you had a horrible supervisor and then you go on to the next position. You got to consciously make sure that you don't take that stuff with you and then you're
Right.
passing it on, because leadership is you're merely passing on information and experiences, and people begin to mimic what they see or what they experience. So if you're a horrible leader, then you're making other horrible leaders. If you're a really good leader, then you're making other good leaders, right?
Right.
And so I think we just gotta really be conscious that and sometimes you're leading and you don't even realize it. Everybody got followers.
That happens all the
Everybody
time.
got followers.
Not just on Facebook, not just on Instagram.
Mm-mm.
You got real life people followers.
Mm-hmm. In real life.
Yeah.
Like,
so this goes to this point. My favorite thing is when I work with people who tell me, "Oh, I don't need your services because I'm not a leader." Ma'am, sir, what? You're not a who?
Are
My
you?
and my real favorites are parents who say that.
Oh no, that's
You're not a leader and
You
you have
are a
how many
leader.
kids?
You're
Or
definitely a leader.
you're not a leader and you're a classroom teacher. You're not a leader and you are an administrative assistant. And how many people come to you all day,
Come
every
on.
day?
Come on. Come on.
You're not a leader. But that goes back to what you said earlier, is that we look at leadership in titles.
And that's not leadership is not about titles. Leadership is about impact. That's why you're a leader, regardless of if you have a title, regardless of
Mm-hmm.
if you thinking it, you're doing it well or not. Leadership is about impact. And we all know that you're impacting people whether you want to or not. And so that means that you're leading people whether you want to or not, right? And so you're
Yes.
absolutely right. We got to be cognizant of, if you're a parent, even if I don't have any children yet, I still know I'm a leader, because there are little people in other people's lives that I'm close to that look up to me. don't you be talking about my baby. That look up to me, like and I'll use Rain as an example. My relationship with her since she was little is, we're extra. That's what we do. We like to have fun, right? But I have to be cautious with that because she's still gleaning, right? She's still paying attention. She still knows. I have to be able to present it to her in a way. Yeah, we're having fun, but then when there comes a time for business, it's down to business. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, so I'm a leader whether I want to be or not. And the sooner that people understand that leadership is about impact and not necessarily about power, like those are two different things. Power and impact are two different things. And the sooner that we understand that leadership is about impact and not power over, the better everyone will be. The better experience people will start to have. It's about impact.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. This is why I was excited about this. So, the 3 words that I chose for when with Dr. Renita and anything I do are authenticity, empowerment, and impact.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, leadership is not about power; it's about impact. So, my friend Kenya introduced me to the local TikTok. She convinced me that I should be on TikTok. I
I'm
did
here
not
for
want
some
to talk
TikTok,
or
honey.
Tik, but I am on now the TikTok. But what a post I just did either yesterday or the day before was and this was what's funny is that my power was out yesterday.
Oh, okay.
But I actually recorded this video months ago when the power was out another day. It was random. But it was about, what do you do when your power is out? What do you do when your power's out? Leaders, what do you do when your power is out?
Mm-hmm.
And I talked about, hoarding power. A lot of people, their power is out because they hoarded all the power. Then they realize that the people below them or who are following them are powerless. So they're not doing anything. And so the power flow stops.
Come on.
If you are a leader and all you care about is power, then the likelihood of whoever you are leading, being a powerful, impactful change agent that lasts over time is pretty low, because your power is going to go out quickly, because the power source is a power of one. You need to have power in all of the entity for the entity to work.
Yes.
So when we're talking about power versus impact, it's not about the power, because the power from a leader should simply be the source of power for other people to
Come
get
on.
their
Come on.
power. They should be able
Come
to
on.
plug into you
Come
and be
on,
powerful
Renita.
all in themselves.
Yes.
So leaders who don't have a clue what they're doing sometimes are doing it the perfect way because all they do is spend their time giving power
To
to
other
other
people.
people.
I'm trying to take when girl, now that is a word. I'm trying to tell you because when you oftentimes when you're in this dismantling process, which kind of is emerging as the theme for us tonight, when you're
Right,
in this dismantling process, you start to recognize things about yourself, insecurities, concerns, and then you start seeing that in those around you. And then because you are self-aware, you can empower those around, empower, in I know it's not spelled like that, but inserting power into
right,
those around you so that they can maneuver better with some of the things that you're struggling with that you see in others. But if you're
right.
only concerned about self and you're not
Mhm.
concerned about sharing the power, sharing the prestige, sharing the the top seat, if you will, then
Right,
you're not helping anyone. It's just you're just being selfish. Like you are hoarding the power, and we
right,
all know that that is only a every power pack, if you will, has to be plugged into something, right? Whether it's
right.
a battery, whether it's this cord to the thing that's powering my phone, it has to be plugged in. So when you are plugging in and you are isolated, right? And
Hmm.
you're running and running and running and running and running and running, and you're not plugged into anything to either give power or share power,
Right,
you're going to die. You're not going to be effective anymore. You're not going to have meaningful impact around those that are in your circle or in your environment because you're not plugged in anywhere. You're not
right,
sharing, you're not getting. And so we got to be I love that concept of like hoarding power. And how do we start to look within ourselves and see and ask the questions, am I hoarding power? Because people who
mm.
hoard power are insecure. They're
Yes,
concerned that the power is going to
they're
run out,
they're
right?
petrified. They're
They're
scared.
scared.
They're just scared.
They're scared. And they think that I gotta hold on to it because if I share it, then other people are gonna take it and this is all that I got and I work so hard. And the reality is the more that you share, the more that you pour into, the more that you plug into, the more it attracts other people. And it's
Right,
almost like then those people plug into other people and it becomes this overwhelming source or outlet of power amongst people, and it makes the whole entity more effective, right? And
right,
so if I'm leading, especially if I'm self-aware and I'm going through this dismantling process, then I can empower those around me to not do the things that I did, right? I can
right,
share my power with them and make them feel good about an area that they may be struggling with, helping them out instead of tearing them down, right? Because I'm threatened by them. I don't want them to come from my spot. No, baby, I want you to come from my spot and kick me out because when you
right,
come from my spot, it ain't gonna do nothing but push me up. And so people are so concerned that when you come from my spot, that they think it means they're gonna get kicked off or pushed down. No, when you come
mhm,
from my spot, that means I've done such a great job that I've worked myself out of a position and now I have to elevate to the next thing. But I can't elevate if I don't have someone ready to take my spot.
right,
It's so bizarre the way that we think about power and roles and titles and things. I am an effective leader if I got somebody that's vying for my spot. That means I'm giving you everything that you need to feel like you can do this job that I'm doing
right,
right now, which you absolutely can do. And once you are in this spot, then it's up to higher heights for me.
right, right. Okay, so that brings up a word that a lot of people don't use, especially in our community,
Uh-huh.
and it's called succession planning.
Come on,
This it
girl,
is something that I literally
Jesus. Mm,
teach. I
mm.
teach it. I teach it to educators. I teach it to small business owners. I teach it to ministerial staffs.
Come
It's
on,
succession planning. If you are not succession planning, what you are doing is saying, I never want to move. And then you're going to get mad because you got stuck.
right, right,
I spend my life succession planning. Why do I do what I do for my son? I do those things because I need some wife to
yes,
come up in his life and do it
yes,
better than me. Do it better than me, boo, because you're going to do
yes,
some things better and things I will never. Go
right.
ahead and do that. I need you to because I'm successful. When I meet her, whenever she comes into his life, I ain't met her yet, but one day I'm going to meet her. And
Right,
I'm going to
right.
know she the one because God gave me a special Shanana tool just for him. And
Come
it's going to
on.
go tingle, tingle, tingle. That's her. And I'm going to teach her everything I know.
I know that's right.
Because I want you to have it all. I don't want it. I don't want to be it. Y'all call me when you need something real, real bad, or just to say I love you. That's fine. But I don't need to be the one. I am succession planning in my daughter's lives. I want to teach them everything that I can do that is positive and show
Mm-hmm.
them how to do it so they can go be me in their own life. You just hear me twinkling in your head, in your ear. Go do
Right,
that. As a teacher, I did it for my students. I want you to go be great. I'm teaching you things not so you can stay in seventh grade. I taught you
right,
these things so that you could go to eighth and beyond. As a principal, I taught my teachers as much as I could. I need you to be a principal. I don't want to be a principal forever. I've been there, done that. That was good. I have some other things assigned to me, and I can't fulfill the rest of my assignment. I can't
right,
go and grow
right,
unless I
right.
get somebody else in this spot. No, of course I want you to take my job.
Come through. Cause I got higher things. I got a vision. I can't and until my assignment is done here, I can't elevate.
Right.
Right.
It's I
Yeah.
want to complete my assignments. I don't
Right.
want to turn them in half done.
Right. Right.
And part of
Right.
that is I need to teach you what I know. I am not living these experiences for me.
Right.
I'm living these
Right.
experiences to share.
Right.
So
Right.
as a leader who may at some point in time, at several points in time, didn't have a clue what I was doing because
Come on.
nobody's going to tell me ever you give birth to a child and then you know how to be a parent.
No.
You will never become a step parent and immediately know day one what you're doing. I walked into a principalship. I had never been a principal before. So many things as I knew about leadership, I still didn't know about the principalship because I hadn't done that before.
Yes.
So I walked in blind. And every leadership position you walk in blind. So whether
Yes.
anybody wants to admit it or not, we said this before we started tonight. Every single leader doesn't have a clue what they're doing at some
Zero.
point in time, at most points in time.
Zero. And here's the difference between leaders who don't have a clue and are effective and leaders who don't have a clue and they're ineffective. The effective leader comes in and says, I don't have a clue, but I know that these people around me know what's going on. So
Right.
I need to connect with the people that are already present so that they can give me what I need in order to take this thing to the next level. It's the leaders that come in pretending like faking it till they make it. No, like that's not effective. You need to come in knowing that there is a level of knowledge that you must obtain from your environment. And that's any level of leadership. President Biden didn't come in like, all right, like he's like, I'm the best candidate, but he has so many resources around him, cabinet
Mm-hmm.
positions, working meetings, this person working on this, that, because he can't do it all, right? But he utilizes the resources in his immediate environment to be an effective leader.
Right.
We are so insecure as leaders sometimes that we feel like if we show up and we don't really know what to do, then, they're going to think that I'm incompetent. No,
No.
and anyone who thinks that you're incompetent don't know what they're doing neither.
Right.
That's just the reality, because it's not even about being incompetent. It's about being realistic that there's a learning curve. In any new position, there's always a learning curve. One of the things I tell folks that I talk to is the first thing you want to go in and do is survey the land. And I know that's
Yes.
biblical, but it works. Like,
Yes,
go
you
in
do.
and survey the land. Go in and see who are your resources. Who is your go-to person? What relationships do you need to build? What kind of relationship does your immediate supervisor have with their circle of people? You got to
Mm-hmm.
go in and really take inventory of what's around you first, and know that you don't have all the answers. The year one
Right.
in any position is about learning the environment in order to be effective year two. But most people think they got to come in like they know everything. And it's like, you're not going to be successful because you got to be honest with where you are.
Right. Oh my gosh, that's so good. But you said, oh, honey, you said something. I'm trotting back,
Come on, come on,
trotting back.
come on.
You said that good leaders surround themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and then you surround themselves with other people who know what they're doing. But then you use the word resources. So to me, that brought together good leaders who come in, surround themselves with resources.
Yes.
Because a good leader at the end of the day is truly just a great facilitator.
Sis, put that on a t-shirt, please. Please put it on a t-shirt. Please, I promise you, because that's it, Renita. Good leaders are merely great and intentional facilitators. They
Yes.
facilitate the right conversations. They brokerage the right relationships. They put person A with person Z, and then they come together and they do something amazing. Good leaders are not in it for the shine. They're in it
Mm-mm.
for what can we produce together. Put it
Right.
on a t-shirt. We're
Yes.
facilitators.
That's all a good leader is. And if you, but the thing is, a good leader is also back to the dismantling process. They've
Mhm.
dismantled enough. They know where they're weak and they know where they're strong. When
Yes.
I was an elementary school principal, where was I weak? I had never, ever, 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 ever worked a
Ever.
day in an elementary school. Never, ever, ever,
Ever,
ever.
ever.
Never. I
Never.
never worked in an elementary school. So my job was to surround myself with slamming, jamming people who had worked up and down the elementary school and knew what they knew.
Mm-hmm.
I knew how to facilitate it. I knew how to bring it together. I knew how to lead. So now let's rock this thing together. And if
Yeah.
anybody got accolades, it always went back to those who were doing the work.
Yeah.
All I did was get them together. All I did was encourage them to be great. All I did was give them the resources so that they could do what they needed to do. But at
Exactly.
the end of the day, my good leadership was being a hound dog for people who knew what they were doing and then letting them do their job.
Letting them do their job. Because sometimes we might find ourselves in situations where, how can I say, you have someone they want you to do well, but then they want to like jump in it. And you're like, can you, but you hired me I'm gonna be honest. I had a job many years ago. I was doing diversity work, and diversity work is hard. It's hard,
Mm,
particularly for a person of color. It's very hard. And there were days where I would go to my supervisor, who is now like a lifelong mentor, and I would say to him, why do I feel like I'm fighting people to do my job? Why do I feel you hired me to do a job?
mhm.
Let me do my job. Let me get you the results that you need that clearly you can't get for yourself, and that's why you've hired me. So let me do what you're paying me to do. And so sometimes we find ourselves in situations where people are not letting us do our job. That's a whole nother topic, because that requires a whole nother set of skills. But that is, you can't lead and then get in front of and create barriers for the people who you tasked to do something, because you
Right,
want to get the shine, or you want to know, you want people to know that this is your team, or my department did this. Man, sit down somewhere. Push some
right.
people out front who are doing the work. Push them out
Hmm.
front so that people can see who the brains of the operation really are. And in
Right.
order to be a leader, you've got to be willing to not take the shine and push the people out front who are doing the work.
Hello. And that's the thing. Some people don't understand that you will get shine if the things beneath you shine. So, and I don't even want to say beneath, beside you. The things
Right.
beside you shine, because if they're shining, all they're doing is shining a light on the thing in the middle. They plugged into you.
Yes.
And you encourage them. You led them to lead
Yes.
themselves to greatness. I am going to lead the heck out of you to do what you do. What do you need? Some styrofoam cups? I'm going
Come
to
on,
buy some styrofoam cups. What else
sis.
do you need to do to make whatever you need to do perfect? Oh, you need a battery? I'm going to go get you a 48 pack.
Come
What
on.
else you need?
What you
Be-
need?
Because if you lead well,
Mm-hmm.
even if you don't have a clue what you're doing, if you're leading well, all you're going to do is empower other people to lead well. I want
Absolutely.
you to take hold of this. This is your idea. You want to have a science fair with smoke that comes down the hallway? Let me find some dry ice. I got you, boo.
Come on. It's about to be smoke in the city up in here.
Hello, somebody.
Yeah.
I'm going to get some, cut the lights off, get some neon necklaces and bracelets. Let's make
Come
it
on.
fly.
Come on. Come on. Yeah, it's really, being a good leader is about empowering others. The best leaders were selfless. And even
Yes.
when you're in an experience where you don't know what you're doing, you just harness the power of your resources and you ask people what they need, and then you do your best to get them what they need, right? And then you make sure that everything that you're doing is in line with the strategic vision of the organization that you are a part of. You
Right.
find your niche in the organization's strategic plan, and you work the heck out of that, and you produce and produce and produce. And that you're not always going to get it right. You know, you're going to make
Right.
mistakes, but you position yourself to be a producer, and then you take all the people around you and you give them exactly what they need to produce. That's it. And you're saying you're the position of a real leader is, how can I help? That's what a real leader says.
Wow.
How can I help?
And
How can
there's
I help?
t-shirt number 2.
Come on. And it's gonna be a line of them when it's all done. It
The
is.
position of a true leader is, how can I help you? The position of a true leader is service.
Absolutely.
All a
Absolutely.
leader is really, and it's a thing to say, I'm into servant leadership. I mean, that's something that I say. I am a servant leader. I'm about, how can I help you?
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, whether you want to be a servant leader or not, that's what you are.
Yes. Yes.
Whether you want to be a customer service representative as a leader, that's what you are. All you
Yes.
do is work in customer service and service, period. That's what you do.
Right. Here,
I
but
know
here's
you
the
want it to
thing.
be fancy.
Here's the thing. You're a servant leader, whether you're serving others or serving yourself. So
You're serving somebody.
who are you serving? Because
Uh-uh.
everyone's a servant leader, but who are you serving? And if you're only serving yourself, then what kind of leader is that? I mean, I'm just was wondering for the people.
But then there's the power hoarder.
Yep. Yes. Yes. Yes.
There's the power hoarder.
Come
They're
on.
self-service. They're plugging into themselves. If other people plug into them, all they do is suck from them. They're not giving any power back. So they're
Mm-hmm.
killing their batteries, they're killing their own batteries, and all the power's gonna be dead. The power's gonna be out, it's gonna be dark, and you're gonna be looking around confused.
Wondering why you're not effective, why you're not producing, why people don't like working with you, why
Why
people don't
you don't
like
have
being on a
power
team with you.
anymore? Why you
Exactly.
lost that job? Why you lost that title? Why your business imploded?
Why your nonprofit folded. Right. So,
That
yeah.
part.
Who are you serving? Because you're either serving somebody else or you're serving yourself. Period.
Who
That's
are
just
you?
what it comes down to.
Yes, you are a servant leader for you or somebody else, but
Right. You serving
you're
somebody.
serving.
Yes.
Serve it up.
Serve it up because you're serving somebody. Yes,
You're
ma'am.
serving
Mm-hmm.
somebody. I mean that.
Do
Let
you
me
feel
let
it
me
in your sha-na-na? Do you
ha
feel it
ha
in your
ha ha. Hey, hey, ha, So I'm going to go to another point that you brought up. This was one of the last things that you said in your introduction, and you talked about relationships.
Oh, yes, 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 yes.
Leaders who have, and I think this we have touched on this some, because leaders who have not a clue what they're doing, that are smart, that are wanting to be impactful, that are wanting to grow, that don't want a power hoard, they want to be a power source of light to fly everywhere,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
but they deal with relationships.
mm-hmm.
As a leader, how have you dealt with relationships, and what has been the hardest area of relationshiping for you?
Wow, that's a good question. So relationships are super important to me, particularly in my career life and obviously in my personal life as well. I choose my relationships very strategically, and I don't mean that in a emotionless way.
Mm.
I choose my relationships very strategically, in my personal life specifically, but in my work life as well, because I need to be intentional about developing relationships with people who will help me meet my goal, who will help me meet whatever task has been set before me. And so for me, I'm open to building relationships with the person that people think is the most difficult person to deal with. A lot of times that person is difficult because they're the one that is going against the grain. They're the one that has the dynamic ideas that no one can really see how to implement. And so oftentimes I found in my career that the person who sometimes is seen as the button pusher often has a lot of the great ideas and a lot of the innovation that people just can't see. So I always look for who is the button pusher, who's the rebel in the group, and try to see if we have values that align. Um, and so, but I don't have a hard time building rapport or relationship with people because, if you're authentic or if you're just trying to get to know someone, it's kind of easy. I think I am most challenged when I find myself authentically showing up in a relationship and the person on the other side thinks that it's competition. And that has shown up a few times in my personal life and in my work life, where I am thinking that the goal is whatever we're working towards, but somewhere down the line, the other person decided that we were in competition. And that's probably the area that I struggle with most. Yeah, in my personal life and in my work life. It turns into what I desire as mutually beneficial for us to
Mm-hmm.
let our light shine together ends up getting communicated as now you got to compete with me for whatever reason. I mean, it just is what it is. It's happened so many times that I have started to almost see it coming. And it's just the nature of how you deal with people, right? And so in those moments when I feel like there's some weird competitive, I'm like, what are we competing for? Then I know that I have to step back and really let that person get the shine, because something is going on with them that doesn't even have anything to do with me. And if I push up against it, it's going to cause chaos. But if I step back and just let them get whatever the shine is that they need, then they can get what they need and we can move on. So as a summary, I go for the people that oftentimes are seen as the rebels because they usually have all the innovative ideas. And my most challenging area is really when people mistake my excitement or my passion for a sign that we're in competition together. I don't even know. I always have found myself in those situations. I'm like, how did we get here? We're not competing. We're working together. So
And that gets difficult on both ends of that coin when you're
yeah,
looking at personal relationships as well as professional relationships,
yeah,
especially um, in a situation where you have remantled
right,
to a
right,
point where you've decided that I'm not about competing. I'm about growing myself and growing others. And I want to be surrounded by people who are doing the same. And then
right.
you run into a person that presents that way. And then you find out, no, they aren't. They were trying to use you either as a
Yeah,
stepping stool, or they always thought that little of you. So when they find out new things about you or
right.
that you were on their level,
Yes.
they get intimidated by you. And intimidation is a thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially by people who desire power over impact.
Right. Right. And it's
Um,
hard. And I mean, and the truth, the human piece behind it is sometimes it can be heartbreaking where you're
yes,
just like, what are we doing? I'm not in competition with you. Or like you said, you start to see the person's true colors around what their perception of you. And then when you blow that perception out of the water, that's when that kind of it ignites that, oh, I need to be in competition with you. And it's like, no, we're working together. There's no reason to be in competition. We're working together. If I win, you win. If you win,
right.
I win. We're on team. We're on a team. But sometimes that's just not the case. Like sometimes that's just not the case. So
And
yeah,
I mean, and to bring it back to the topic, for a leader who doesn't know what they're doing, that intention has to be clear for them, because that is going to sway them either towards that competition or that true team building, true positive relationships. Because if they're a leader that doesn't know what they're doing, but they're doing it for the power, then they're going to be in constant competition. They will never do succession planning. They will
right.
never really be
Nope.
impactful. They will
Nope.
never empower and grow others because they want that power. But if
Yeah.
they're truly about the impact, by any means necessary.
Right.
Come on,
Right.
it's Black History Month. Let's
Come on.
give Malcolm
Come
his
on.
due.
Give them a little Black history. Come on. Give them a little
Um,
flavor for the people.
but but if they are truly about impact,
Mm-hmm.
period,
Mm-hmm.
then they will even accidentally fall into empowerment, because I
Exactly.
want to I want to create an impact. So I need you to help me. And leaders who are honest will fall into empowerment and impact, because I'm being honest with you. I really don't know. Like, I didn't know how to teach first grade. I knew what good teaching looked like. I could walk in
Right.
the door.
Right.
I don't teach first grade. So I'm gonna watch you do it.
Right. Right.
But I'm gonna know if something's awry. Don't think I
Right.
don't know what stink smells like.
Right.
Like, I know what it smells like.
Right. Right.
But I also know I can't do your job. So what I'm gonna try to do is encourage you to be great, because I
To
can't
be
replace
right.
you personally.
Right.
And it may take me a week to get somebody in here. Now, I don't think I won't,
Because I
but
will. I definitely
but I
will
need
let
you
you
to be
go.
great.
That's true. That's very true.
I need you to be great, or I desire for you to be great. And if we can both desire that together, then we can make some magical things happen.
Exactly. And I think one of the things that we kind of skirted around that we really didn't get into is good leaders who are working on the dismantling, and they are, doing that self-awareness piece. They're being honest about how they're managing their insecurities, because that's
Mm,
really, because everyone it has insecurities.
right.
Everybody, you know what I mean? Like everybody. But good leaders are figuring out how to manage those insecurities so that they don't get in the way. Um, we oftentimes, when the I word comes up, people say, well, everybody has insecurities. Well, yes, everyone has insecurities, but people who are doing the work are managing their insecurities different from people who are pretending like their insecurities don't
Mm,
exist, and then therefore are allowing their insecurities to drive them. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
and so I think as a leader, it's not about not being insecure, because we will always be working on something, but it's about managing your insecurities in a way where they are not having a negative impact on the people around you. And that
Mm,
just takes a different level of self-awareness and self-study. I can't lead you and empower you if I'm allowing my insecurities to kind of spew on you. You know what I mean? Like, if
mhm.
I'm insecure about, the way that I speak, right? And I have someone on my team who is an eloquent speaker, and I allow my insecurity to be larger than my ability to positively impact them, then I'm not doing my job. You know what I mean? Like, instead of allowing my insecurity to grow, I should be attempting to learn from this person on my team or in my group so that I can get better. We also think that in leadership, it means you have to know everything, which we've talked about. You don't. Like,
Right.
the learning should be a two-way street between you and anyone in your environment. There's no one who's so high at the top or so low at the bottom or so wide on the sides that we are not able to, it's not a two-way learning. I should be able to learn and pick up something from anyone, you know what I mean,
Right.
that I'm engaging with. And that's about managing the insecurity. Like, I gotta manage my insecurity in a way that I can pull from anyone who has something to teach me. I can learn from anything. Am I willing to be to be taught, regardless of who the
Right.
person is?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Good leaders and leaders who are walking into leadership blind, clueless,
Mm-hmm.
are learners.
Come
If you
on,
can
leaders are
learn, you
learners.
can
Come
lead.
on. Yes, yes,
If you
yes,
can learn, you can lead.
yes.
That's why leaders read. They're
Fact.
reading to learn something. And this is just like, so sometimes the reading is a part of the dismantlement.
Yes,
They're
yes,
reading because they have now broken these things down, and they're looking through their rubble. They're looking through the rubble that's in the book, because that's all a book is. It's a bunch of rubble. You decide what you pick and choose and take from it.
right, 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 right.
They're making decisions, but they're learning. They're learning about themselves. They're learning from other people's experiences. Books are just other people's experiences. Why
Yes.
do we do Leadership Live? Is so we can share our experiences. So as you have dismantled, whether you've dismantled your whole building or just the fifth floor,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
we're giving you some possible things to put into your build up, your
Yes.
uplift, if you
Yes.
will.
Yes.
Um, but leaders that don't have a clue have the most amazing opportunities
Yes. Yes.
because they're not so hung up on everything they've done that they don't do anything else.
Right. You're absolutely correct. I think leaders that don't have a clue, if positioned well, are the most impactful leaders. Like,
Right.
if they position themselves well, and that if the environment has positioned them well, um, they are the most, I won't even say, yes, impactful, but they can be the most transformational for
Right.
the people around them, not just themselves. But because if I step into a position and I don't have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm trying to figure it out, and I'm honest with you that I don't have any clue what I'm doing, then that empowers someone else to step in a position where maybe they only know 25% of what they're doing, but it gives them the example. No, you can figure this out. I tell people all the
Right.
time, people who are close to me, I tell them all the time, I don't know everything. Clearly, I don't know everything. but I can figure it out. If you give me something, I may not know it, but I can figure it out. And if I can't figure it out, then I'm going to go find somebody who can tell me what to do, how to do it to get it done. That's
Right.
my superpower, if you will. I will figure it out. No is not an answer, because we'll just figure it out some kind of way. But
Right.
I need to be able to display that so that it can empower someone else to step into a position that they're more ready for than they really realize.
Now, and that's the part I wanted to bring out. The realization is, even though we're talking about leaders who don't have a clue what they're doing, they do have a clue, or else they wouldn't have gotten to the position.
Right.
They have enough experience. This is the whole point of a resume. They just want to see what experiences you have.
Yes.
They not particularly that you've ever done this job. Back to, I am a clear, proven piece of it. I had never done that job, but
Right.
what experiences have I had that have given me enough that I could figure it out when I got there, and I could figure it out well.
Yes.
And they could trust me to figure it
Yes.
out, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you're walking into. You're going to have to figure something out.
Absolutely.
I don't care if you've been a leader for 832 years. There's going to be something new that you got to figure out, because if you are 832 years old and you have a 22-year-old on your staff, you got to figure out a whole lot of stuff. If nothing else, communication between you and the 22-year-old.
Exactly.
You don't even speak the same language. In my house now, I look at my big son. What are you saying? What are you talking about? Could you speak English, please?
He like, I am speaking English, Mom.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's interesting. I think I just can't say it enough. Like, in order to lead, you just really got to be self-aware, and you have to be willing to accept your own flaws. And recognize these areas of challenge so that you can put someone in that place that can help you along. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we have expired our hour by and a little change.
Come on, give me 2 minutes.
Yes. 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But it so two things. One, if there's any last thought in addition to what you just said that you want to share with the people, leave that. But also, I am sure and certain that there are some people who have never met you before and are not connected to you, who have now said they're gonna hit me up. Renita, who is Melissa?
Girl.
How can I get some more of her in my life? Can you tell the people how they can connect with you?
Sure. I mean, I am on all social media channels. You can find me on Facebook. I don't have like a real special name. It's just Melissa Jordan. I mean, it is what it is. But you can also find me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is Dare to Be Fearless, DAR, the number 2, the letter B, and fearless. Yeah, so and I'm always responsive, whether it's like direct messaging or whatever like that. If people have questions or things of that nature, or if people just want to kind of talk through some things, I think I'm always open to helping new professionals, and I think I sell myself short as well, because I have folks that are in our peer group that oftentimes will come to me to help me to help them think things through.
I do.
So I'm always helpful. Yeah, I'm always open to like being helpful. Just sometimes you just need a strategist, right? Like somebody to help you kind of figure out and put the pieces together. So I'm always open to that as well. But yeah, Melissa Jordan on Facebook, and then Dare to Be Fearless, number 2, letter B, Fearless on Instagram.
Well, we have a fan here who we both know and love, but she said it, so I'm gonna pop it up here. Kimberly Adams Van Acker said, "Yes, more Melissa."
She's been a Melissa cheerleader for quite some time now, so that's my boo. She's biased.
Totally 100%, but it's a good bias.
Yes.
It makes sense.
Yes, it does.
Well, Melissa, I want to thank you for agreeing to come on Leadership Live and having this wonderful public conversation.
I love it.
And help people change their minds, help people shift their mindset, help people become more authentic, impactful, and empowering. You have changed lives tonight, so I thank you. We got another one here that I'll go ahead and pop up because she's biased as well. But hey,
super biased.
Why not? Amazing job,
super biased. That's my other friend. My other friend that I've known for forever. My really friend, she's super biased as well. So,
but this also shows that your impact
Mm-hmm.
over time has been very positive, because these are friendships and
Right.
connections for over 20 years.
Yeah, for sure. Isn't
Over
that
20
crazy? We
years.
so old, over 20 years.
I
Jesus.
am young and vivacious. I do not know about you. You call yourself
Girl.
old. I am, honey.
You
I got
young,
a
young and vibe.
ponytail and a hat
Come on,
today.
Oni Tail. Come on, Oni Tail in the back. I see that Oni Tail in the back.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Yeah,
But
no, that's it's true. It's true. I think those lifelong friendships definitely speak to your ability to, have impact on people and love on people and encourage people and influence people and have those people influence you. Because both
absolutely.
Shayna and Kim have been major influences at some really pivotal and crazy times in my life. So,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. Mm-hmm.
But so to everyone, I thank everyone who came on to Leadership Live tonight. I hope that you were impacted positively by this dismantling in this conversation,
I
and
love
that
it.
you are encouraged to do the same. Melissa, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And
So
everybody out
welcome.
there, have a good
Good
night.
night. You should have some music that goes on, like when you play out an outro.